Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and stand behind your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the War Battalion Mass open. Sergeant Major, post column.
Advance, color guard.
Color, word, march. The colors. Free head arms. Order arms. Pose. Arch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the invocation. Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for this opportunity for us to come together, share the camaraderie and traditions that are such a great part of the customs and heritage of our school. We ask that you bless this gathering and all who share in the rich history and traditions of Carson Military Academy, past, present, and future. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pick up your punch glasses.
Mr. Vice, I propose this toast to the President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the President of the United States.
Mr. Vice, I propose a toast to the United States Army.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the United States Army.
To the Army! Mr. Vice, I propose a toast to the Carson Military Academy.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the Warrior Battalion.
To the Warriors!
Mr. Vice, I propose a toast to our distinguished guests.
Ladies and gentlemen, to our guests.
To our guests!
Mr. President, I propose a toast to our fallen comrades.
Ladies and gentlemen, to our fallen comrades.
To our fallen comrades!
and gentlemen, please take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance tonight. I would like to thank our distinguished guest, David Pearson. Mrs. Pearson, stand up. Our guest speaker, Nekinen, please stand up, sir. Colonel Somerville, please stand up. Colonel Morgan. First Sergeant Bloom. SAI Major Gill. Ryan Estep. And Ling Lu. Mr. Vice, would you please have our dinner served?
Yes, sir!
Mr. Vice!
Yes, sir!
Mr. Vice, I'm observing some of the court here, and I see several gentlemen that are sitting at the table not wearing their ribbons. I think appropriate punishment is in order to have them sing the Carson Long alumni song for Mr. President.
I
That
agree.
includes Mr. Willis and anyone else not wearing your ribbon.
I agree, sir. Everyone who's not wearing a ribbon, please may stand in front of the president and sing the alma mater song.
No, you need to stand in front. Come in the group, guys.
Oh, no ribbon. Wait, no.
Sleep club. All right, we can start us off. Okay. 1, 2, sir. There you go. May the hills of Pennsylvania stand as we love. Our devotion Carson Long colors red and blue, may they flow forever. We'll remember our monster through a lifelong day. When we leave our house life's great work to find. Memories of friendship loyal linger in our minds. Carson Long colors red and blue, may they flow forever. We'll remember all the through our lifelong day.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Manny Nakana, our class of 1998. Round of applause. Mr. Nakana was born in Queens, New York, and attended Carson Long Military Academy. While Carson Long, Mr. Nakana was very active in sports and clubs and served on the Young Bugle Corps, Honor Guard, and varsity basketball team. During his senior year, Mr. Nakana served as the Ward Battalion Commander. Upon graduation from Carson Long, Mr. Nakana attended the University of Rochester and then embarked on a business career specializing in areas of finance, sales with the Morgan Stanley Dean Witter Company, and First Allied Securities in New York, New York. Since 2007, Mission Knock Knock has focused on hotel management and ownership. Please join me in a round of applause.
Good evening. I just want to say before I start that the last time I gave a public speech was in chapel, so I'm a little rusty, please excuse me. And also, in all the hundreds of meals I've ate here, I've never had shrimp, so tonight is the first time I've eaten shrimp across the world. Guys, I'm very well. First, I wanted to say that I'm a firm believer in the phrase, life is full of experiences. And many of my positive life-building experiences started here at Carson. The good and bad things I've learned here helped shape my outlook on life and played a major part in my transformation from a young, angry, and lost kid to the person I am today. Again, my name is Manmar Nakanak. I was born and raised in Queens, New York. My family's from Thailand, and I attended Carson from 1990 as a freshman to 1994. And as you heard, I was a battalion commander my senior year. But when I first came to Carson, I was young, I was angry, I was lost, I was stubborn, and I was defiant. When my parents were hard-working immigrants from Thailand, and they worked long, hard hours at menial jobs. And because of this, I had way too much time to myself to hang out along the streets. When I first was told that I was getting sent to Carson, it didn't matter to me, because back then, I didn't understand consequences, nor did I care. When I did find out I was going to Carson, I grew my hair out in protest. My first day here, I remember my platoon sergeant took me downtown to the barber shop. And when I sat in the chair, I started to tell the barber what kind of haircut I wanted. And my platoon sergeant jumped in and said, no, just do it the Carson way. That's when I knew, okay, I'm in military school, it's real. This speech is actually coming at a good time for me because in a couple of months, I turn 40 years old. I'm at the age where I'm not young enough to be considered young, but I'm also not old enough to be considered old. And because of this, I've been doing a lot of reflecting, self-analyzing, and traveling down memory lane the past year or so. And a lot of reflecting and memory start here at Carson. This place holds a lot of good and bad memories for me. It's a place where I started to mature and become a man. It's a place where I started to think and do for myself. And finally, it's the place that has helped me become the responsible person, father, and businessman I am today. The school has changed a lot since 1994, but I'm sure the principles, the ideas, the values, the goals, the teamwork, and the lifelong brotherhood have stayed the same. Tonight, I want to share with you some of the great lessons and experiences during my time as a student here. I learned how to relate and coexist with different people of all types of backgrounds. Carson gave me the opportunity to have the courage and experience to lead, and it also taught me to learn from life's experiences, both good and bad. These are real skills that you can apply in life. I'm extremely proud to have spent time here and graduated from Carson. I'm sure one day most of you guys will look back at this stage in your life as one of the most influential and important phases of your life. I hope some of my thoughts tonight will help you with your experience here and also going forward. One of the skills I learned here was how to relate to different types of people of all backgrounds. Initially, my first year here, I got into a lot of fights and altercations with people just because their ideas were different. Remember, back then I was still stubborn and angry, so anyone who thought differently from me, I considered an enemy. However, after a few months of being here on campus, I started to get to know people and my mind frame started to change. As you know, Carson has a very diverse group of people here, from all over the country who talk, act, sound, and think differently. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was starting to become open-minded and accepting of the differences. I made a lot of friends here with people from all types of backgrounds. I learned a lot about different cultures. As I can see now, Carson is still a huge melting pot of people from all over the country and the world. And sometimes this will cause funny situations. I remember a kid from Saudi Arabia who couldn't speak any English at all. And one day I walked past his room and he was singing all types of reggae songs. even though he couldn't speak any English. It was because his roommate listened to reggae. So eventually, he learned all the words. This type of exposure helped me out greatly in college, in my workplace, and just basic interaction in life. I can relate and talk to all types of people regardless of their background, and it makes people feel comfortable with me as well as vice versa. For 10 years, I was a financial advisor on Wall Street, and I was able to it was easier for me to get clients because I was able to relate to them, and they were able to relate to me as well. So, my experiences here have allowed me to speak to anyone, whether they're a doctor, a mechanic, or just a guy hanging out on the street. It's unfortunate though, because some people in this world, they only want to hang out with certain types of people. They only want to eat certain types of food. They're very closed-minded. Life is hard enough. By being like this, you're limited in possible friends, business associates or clients, or even a possible girlfriend or wife. So do yourself a favor, take advantage of the diversity here. It will definitely help you out in your life and your work. Another thing I learned here was that I learned how to lead. Carson Long gave me the ample experience and opportunity to lead. He gave me the patience, the courage, and the skill to confront most situations. When I first came to Carson Long, I was definitely a follower, and it got me into a lot of trouble, and was the main reason for me being sent here. If someone told me to do something stupid, but it sounded like fun, I would go ahead and do it. My first year at Carson Long, I got into a lot of trouble. I used to do silly things like stay up after task with my lights on and play video games. I'm sure some of you guys could probably do that. And I used to just disrupt class. Things started to change though, when I first signed up for the basketball team. Back then, my coaches were, as I know him, Lieutenant Somerville and Captain Camoli. Yeah, that's how low I was here. So they were my basketball coaches, and I knew that if I got in trouble, they would sit me and take away my basketball playing time. That's when I knew I had to start acting. I started to have to do well in class and have a better attitude. And by the end of my freshman year, I got 2 promotions. For my sophomore year, when I came back, I definitely felt more comfortable and confident because I knew what to expect. And because of this, my grades and my attitude improved. Midway through my sophomore year, I was asked to become the platoon sergeant for Willard Hall 3, which back then was called the Zoo. And it was for the 6th and 7th graders. So, I don't know if you guys still have Willard Hall, but it was one big room, and there were 40 or 50 6th and 7th graders that lived in that one room. And it was very, very hectic, very hectic. So here I was, just a year ago, I was lost and unruly myself. And now, I was supposed to lead these kids. I was scared to fail, but I was also scared to lead. Luckily for me, a good friend of mine was also promoted to become a platoon leader. His name was Kennedy. He was also a second-year student here, and he was also from New York, so we had a lot in common. In the beginning, we were both nervous about leading these kids. The previous platoon leader and platoon sergeant got demoted because these kids were just out of control. I remember walking after lunch one day, I walked by and they were throwing stuff out the window. And they hit me in the head with, I think it was a bottle or something. I looked up and I ran up the stairs and like 30 of them wanted to challenge me to a fight. They were like little midgets that just had a mouth on them. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if you guys still have Little Hall 3. It was really a little crazy. So, at first, I was just confused. I was thinking to myself, how do I lead these kids? Again, just a year ago, I was confused and I probably deserved to be in that room myself. But, after a while, they started to respect us, Kennedy and I. And we started to do well. They started to behave, and there were a few weeks where we actually won Building of the Week award for inspection and parades, which back then was unheard of for Willard Hall 3 to win. So, as I became a better leader, my attitude and my grades started to become better as well. And Kenny and I both of us started to grow and just mature. And we were both on the basketball team. And that year, we got to the championship game, but we lost. So in that situation, at first we were scared and we were hesitant. But as we became more comfortable, it became a situation of strength and inspiration for us. When I came back for my junior year, I was promoted to platoon leader for Willowboro 1 and 2, which was the 7th and 8th graders. I was much more comfortable and I had the experience from the previous year of leading, and it made me calm and focused. The platoon did really well with behavior and inspection and parades. I can't take all the credit myself. I did have good platoon sergeants and squad leaders. And as you know, leadership is about teamwork as well. And as I said before, as my attitude got better, my grades got better, and my behavior in class got better. I had a lot of friends. I didn't have any enemies in school anymore. At that point, I started to realize that there was a possibility that I could be battalion commander one day. And it made me excited, and it made me proud based on where I was when I first came to the school. I really wanted a challenge and demands. I wanted to face the challenge and demands of the position. The last few months of my junior year turned out really well. The basketball team won a championship for the first time in a long time, and I was named battalion commander for the following year. Learning how to lead was a major reason why I was able to achieve my goals at that point in my life. As I became a better leader, my personal goals were also affected in a positive way. At that point, I was hooked. I wanted the challenge of being a leader. Another important lesson that I've learned here is that life is full of experiences, both good and bad. And that we must learn and improve from our good experiences, and also figure out what happened and how to fix our bad experiences so they don't happen again. When I came back from my senior year, I had a bunch of goals. I wanted to be the best battalion commander I could. I wanted to win another basketball championship. And personally, I wanted to get into the best college I could get into. But 2 years into my senior year as battalion commander, I made a huge mistake. I had heard that there was a kid selling tobacco to some of the junior school kids. So since I was a platoon leader the year before, I still wanted to see some of these cadets do well. So I went and I confronted the kid that was selling tobacco, and the situation got out of hand. I actually got into a fight with him, and long story short, I got a general order for fighting. So now, instead of me being excited about my senior year, I was disappointed and confused because there was a lot of uncertainty. Instead of me being a leader, I was now stuck marching an hour every day. I was stuck marching in ranks, and most importantly for me at that point, I wasn't able to play basketball. It was a disaster because I had grown to love Carson. The first few weeks of my general order, I basically just moved around campus feeling sorry for myself. I was mad that I got into this situation, and I also regretted the lack of leadership and restraint that I had shown. However, things started to get better because my friends started to encourage me. They gave me words of advice. The one good thing that did happen during that time was that I got accepted into my first college of choice, which was the University of Rochester in upstate New York. After about 2 months, after Christmas break, I got reinstated back to the battalion commander. I was anxious and excited to have things get back to normal because I wasn't sure if I actually ever was going to be the battalion commander again. Also, in my absence, the basketball team struggled. They needed to win the last 4 games to make the playoffs. Luckily, we did make the playoffs, and we eventually won the title. So I also played well enough to make the league all-star team. So I think that was the first championship that you guys won, right? Second? So that's like my outwinning one. That's what I brag about when I talk to my friends. I won a championship. The last few months of my senior year were very meaningful and nostalgic. I knew that my Carson ride was coming into an end, so I tried to enjoy what was left of it before the next phase of my life. Looking back, I was proud of the way I handled the disappointment of the general order and the way that I bounced back. I should also tell you it was the last fight that I ever got into since then. Sometimes we become better people from our bad experiences. As I close out my speech, there are 2 observations I want to bring up about Carson. When you're here at the school, grow up differently. Because you're not at home, you don't rely on your parents or your family for emotional support anymore. You're here. You're here with your brothers, you're here with your classmates, you share your secrets, you share your problems with them, you don't talk as much to your family. So, in my situation, when I went home, I noticed that my parents and my brothers, they kind of adjusted to life without me. So when I was in my house, I felt like I was a visitor. And also in my situation, after I graduated in Carson, I went to college for 4 years, and then I moved out after I graduated college. So basically, I lived in my house for the first 14 years of my life. That was it. Looking back, I should have tried harder to spend more time with my family. Even though we still talk and interact, we're not as close as we should be. I'm not saying it will happen to you guys, but it is something to think about and work on if possible. Because at the end of the day, your family will support the other people. So just try to stay in touch with your family as much as possible. As much as I love your school, I think it did affect my relationship with my family a little bit because I didn't grow with it. The other thing I realized about Carson is that when you're here, you're on a rigid schedule. So basically, you wake up at a certain time, you eat at a certain time, you study at a certain time, you shower at a certain time. So when I graduated and left here, I kind of lost myself a little bit because now I had newfound freedom. I didn't have a system to follow. I found myself waking up late, I found myself going to sleep late, and I found myself studying inconsistently. And it affected me my first semester of college. Eventually I did figure it out though, but for some of my classmates, they really struggled. I hate to say this, but some of them struggled in school, dropped out of school, some of them had problems in their work life, or their workplace, or some of them really struggled in life. So again, I'm not saying that it's going to happen to you guys, but it's a good thing to figure out before you leave here. When you do have that freedom, just make sure that you take advantage of the lessons that you learned here and try to incorporate it into your college life. Despite these issues, my overall time at Carson Law was extremely productive and helpful. I learned lifelong lessons and experienced situations that have left an impact on me for the rest of my life. I formed friendships and relationships which have lasted 20 or so years to this day. The funny thing is, back then, we didn't have cell phones. So every Saturday night, there would be a long line at the payphones. The last time I was here, the payphones were boarded up and they were removed. But on a night like tonight, there would be at least 6 or 7 people waiting at that phone, ready to talk. Also back then, we didn't have internet. Nobody used internet yet. So when I graduated Carson Law, a lot of my classmates and I, we fell out of touch with each other. It was only about 15, 20 years later when Facebook started to become popular that we started to get reacquainted with each other. And when we did, we chatted for hours and hours and hours about our experiences here and just catching up with life. And that's the thing that's most important to me. As I woke up today, the memories just came back to me. The good memories, the bad memories. I know when you guys pull up this, oh man, back to school. When you guys leave here, trust me, you guys will remember this place with positive thoughts. Personally, for me, it feels like things have come full circle, as I'm the father of a 16-year-old daughter. She has a lot of the same issues that I had when I was her age. She even struggles with the same subjects that I did. I'm hoping that I get to pass on the things and lessons that I've learned here to her. Being a parent is leadership as well, but it's a totally different type of leadership. And I can honestly say that being a parent is the hardest experience that I've ever had to deal with in my life. So, like I said, life is full of experiences, both good and bad. Including the ones here at Carson Law that have affected and influenced me greatly, even today, 28 years after I graduated. They help me in my daily life dealing with my business, my employees, my friends, my personal relationships, and most importantly with my daughter. I hope you guys really cherish your time here. If I had a chance, I would come back here and relive my days all over again. So please do yourself a favor and make the most of it. Take care of your grades, your peers, take care of your bodies, and make us all proud of the Carson Long Brotherhood. And remember, being able to accept and relate to others, use the ample opportunities here at Carson Long to lead, but lead yourself first. You can't be a leader unless you lead yourself first, and then you can lead others. And always try to keep learning the good and bad experiences. One of the sayings I try to live by is the day that you stop learning is the day that you start dying. So it's been a great pleasure for me to come here, and it's been an even greater pleasure for me to have the opportunity to speak with you guys. Thank you.
Rise and stand behind your chair for the Ghost House service. Our purpose tonight is to remember and honor those graduates of Carson Military Academy who selflessly give their life in defense of our great nation and in the service of their fellow man. Adjutant,
Yes, sir.
please read the names of Gold Star platoon.
Pearl Beach. Roger Benson. Francis Lifford. Edwin Bernard. George Chaplin. George Cole. Harry Kramer. James Deganar. William Gold. Jimmy Dutcher. Al Emerson. Edward Emmers. Delos Evans. William Burkhart. Robert Gaynor. Douglas Rubb. Leonard Hewitt. John Holt. Clark Holman. Edla Hood. Raymond Hudok. Frederick Hughes. Matthew Laporte. Franklin Manmar. Jay McCain. Marilyn McCain. Robert Moore. William Newberger. Dean Nicholas. John Onshat. Jonathan Rivadeneira. Thomas Rockwell. Kenneth Scruton. Victor Sherrill. Harry Simpson. Sidney Smith. Helen Smith. David Tapsell. Harry Titus. Robert Weber. William Wirtz. Mark Sollins.
Napoleon once said that an army marches on its stomach. We continue to be blessed by having one of the finest catering services I've ever come across, either in the army or in independent education. We had a superb dinner tonight. And I want to go on record on behalf of the school thanking Chef Joe, his team, Jake, Julie and Brittany for a superb dinner. Thank you very much. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
That wasn't good enough. Good evening. Part of this ceremony, this dining in, is a regimental tradition. It creates a bond of brotherhood, whether you're engineers, artillery, infantry, armour, aviation. We've heard tonight from one of your brothers. In less than a month, you're going to join that alumni brotherhood. These bonds are enduring. They are lifelong. The lessons you heard tonight, Manny, thank you so very much for being so honest and so forthright in your advice to these young men, because they need to hear these things. Carson Long shaped you. I've enjoyed getting to know you this evening. It's a great honour and a privilege to have you back here. You haven't been back for 6 years, and to have you as a speaker tonight is simply wonderful. You lived in Balfrey, Willard Hall, and up top here, Centennial Hall, and rose to be battalion commander at Carson Long. There were 250 cadets in those days. Our numbers are smaller, but our bonds are just as strong. I would also like to thank you for your hospitality when the drill team travelled to New York. Not only did you put them up, you fed them breakfast as well. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Last name you heard tonight was Mark Sullins. Some of you visited the 9/11 Memorial. Carson Long graduate that was running into the building as an EMT when it was falling down to bring people out to safety. Just a few months before that, Manny was working in the World Trade Center, but moved into the hospitality industry. You never quite know. But what we do know is what we have right now. Hold it close, treasure it, and keep it forever. It's easy to stay connected with Facebook today. These regimental traditions that you've experienced here, the discipline, the structure that has been given to you, will help you in the future. You will be ahead of the curve. You've seen a very civilized dinner tonight, with the President of the Mess and a Mr. Vice. It's as it should be. Keep these standards. And who knows, down the road, you will be stood here, passing on your wisdom, as Manny has done for you. On behalf of the school, thank you for coming. Thank you for being a member of our corps, our alumni, and a continuing friend of Carson Long. Thank you, Manny.
So, the class of 2016 was presented with this gift card. You can open it up there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and stand for benediction. Mr. Vice, please lead us in the benediction.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we ask that you watch over and guide all of us as we prepare to embark on the bright futures that lay before each of us. While we will all go on our separate path, may the experiences and friendships that we have shared here at Carson Long serve as a strong foundation in which we can all build successful lives of service and dedication of our nation and to others. Amen.
Sergeant Major, retired colors.
Advance, color guard.
Color forward. March. Freeze and arm.